According to the AP, they have been punished because they are continuing to call the body of water west of my house the Gulf of Mexico. Trump has renamed it the Gulf of America. If you search on Google Maps now, it says Google of America. Wow, where's my mind? I don't even know.
Google of America.
The Gulf of Google. I mean, I don't even know anymore. Whatever it's called, it's a beautiful body of water. Unfortunately, I wish we were talking more about the pollution in this particular body of water. Is something that I've talked about on the channel quite a bit, but we don't care. We just care about fighting over the name. Anyway, the White House says it has the right to punish AP reporters over Gulf naming dispute. Now, if you read the AP side of the story, basically they're saying that they are calling the Gulf of Mexico, but they're letting people know also that Trump has changed the name to Gulf of America. See, this is going to keep messing me up. It's changing to Gulf of America, but they're calling it Gulf of Mexico. Okay.
Right.
And, but because they're alleging their side of the story is that like that's what everybody else calls it, and for the just effectiveness of their reporting all over the world, they're going to keep calling it what everybody else calls it. Okay. Now, I don't totally buy that, but I have my own opinions on this whole thing, which I just want to get through I want to get through the meat of this first and just make sure I get all the facts right. Of course, now that they have said that since they're going to continue doing that, they are alleging that they're being punished and they've been barred from certain meetings, certain presidential events, not all of them. The White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, said that it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that. And they say, in reality, the body lies partially in waters that don't belong to the United States and has been called the Gulf of Mexico for hundreds of years. And so on Tuesday, AP reporters were blocked from attending events in the Oval Office in the White House's diplomatic reception room. While an AP reporter was in the White House briefing room Wednesday for Levitt's remarks, they were turned away at a later event in the Oval Office for the swearing in of Tulsi Gabbard as National Intelligence Director. And here's what the AP Senior Vice President, Julie Pace, says. The actions taken by this White House were plainly intended to punish the AP for the content of its speech. It is among the most basic tenets of the First Amendment that the government cannot retaliate against the public or the press for what they say. Now, I will admit, there is a little bit of vomit that comes into my mouth when I read this phrase and just, fury of support for the First Amendment, when I'm still wondering where all these people were over the last 4 years when the First Amendment has just been chiseled and chiseled away. But anyway, I continue on. They say the Oval Office access is a privilege. Okay. Nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and they get to decide who gets to go in the Oval Office. This is true. Obviously, not everybody can go into the Oval Office. They're making decisions all the time. And of course, to say that there weren't preferences in the past, I think would be complete BS. I mean, every president is taking preferences. They take interviews based on who's going to give them the easier. Trump did it. Obama did it. Biden, Kamala Harris, they all do it. And I said in one of our previous shows, I think that all of this is really spectacle anyway. I wouldn't in a heartbeat, though I did apply to go to the briefings as a new media outlet, I wouldn't in a heartbeat think I was getting the truth. I would, of course, assume that they're spinning it because that's what they do in these briefings. Okay. So it's not like I would think I'm going there doing amazing journalism or anything. Okay. Anyway, long story short, they say asked if barring AP reporters was retaliatory, Levitt said that the Interior Secretary has codified the name change in official documents and that, quote, pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America. So I'm not really getting like a direct answer from them saying that is in fact what is happening with the AP. I didn't see anything yet. Somebody please show me if you did, where Levitt says specifically, yes, we are not letting you into this as a punishment for not saying what we want you to say. Now, I'm going to criticize the Trump administration in a second, but I'm going to let Bill go first, okay? And Bill and I tend to disagree on some of this stuff, and so I let him go first in deference to my guest, and then I will let you know what I think about the Trump administration if in fact this is happening. And I will also criticize the Associated Press and all of these bleeding heart journalists who all of a sudden care about the First Amendment. Okay, Bill, please take it away.
You know, it's kind of funny. Earlier today, I was watching the confirmation hearing for Linda McMahon as Secretary of Education, and behind her sat her son Shane McMahon and World Wrestling Entertainment Creative Operating Officer Paul Levesque, also known as Triple H. And it's kind of funny because Triple H, one of his famous catchphrases is, "I got two words for you," and then they'll say, "Suck it." Well, I'm going to do something. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. I got two words for you. Who cares? I mean, seriously, this is the biggest waste of the AP's time. This is the biggest waste of the government's time. We got real problems and we need real people with real solutions. Okay. We got Elon Musk running crazy, exposing stuff and maybe getting into some things that he really has no business getting into. Some things he's doing good, some things he's doing wrong. Uh, the last thing any of us should care about is what Trump's administration wants to call the Gulf. It's such a waste of time and a waste of money and resources. We got better shit to be doing, folks. Okay. AP, just call it whatever they want you to call it, and then you can change it later. You know, he's only going to be there for 4 years anyway, if that long. So this just, it's a big waste of time and a waste of resources all around. Who cares what they call this beautiful, gorgeous body of water, like Allison said, is getting polluted left and right. We are losing the Gulf. You know, part of the reason my wife and I don't want to move to Mississippi, we might, because it's probably going to be the cheaper option along the Gulf of America or Mexico or whatever. But the pollution down there, all the oil spills, oh my God, it makes it nowhere near as beautiful as the Alabama and the Florida coasts.
Well,
So
and not to mention, one of the things that I have discussed too, like with the guy who wrote a history about the Gulf. I wonder if he's going to change the title of his book. Jack. Oh gosh, I have to go back and look at it. His name. I can Murphy. Maybe I don't want to get it wrong. But I know his name is Jack because it's the same name as my son. Anyway, he's at the University of Florida, and he came out and we talked about this. There's this dead zone at the base of the Mississippi from all of the chemical
mhm.
fertilizers basically that kept big corporate agriculture uses and dumps basically these into the Mississippi. It runs in the Mississippi, and there's like this area, a huge, just like the size of Texas or something. It's big, it's really big, where like nothing grows. And we talk about red tide here in the Gulf of Mexico, here all in Florida. I mean, it's just, there's just too much. I believe the issue really is nitrogen, but I'm not going to try to mess with the science. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I would love to have these kinds of conversations about that, but we don't. We're just, as Bill said, we're screwing with the name right now. Okay, please, if you are somebody who is you can't say anything because you got no teeth, all right, you can't call it the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico because all your teeth fell out. Well, let me please help you with your dental health, all right? Greenpasture.org, promo code Allison. You can get the product that I've been taking for over a decade that really helped me with cavities, all right? Fermented cod liver oil and concentrated butter oil blend. You'll hear, take a fish oil, please. Fish oils are not all created equal. A lot of fish oils will do nothing for you. This is not just a fish oil, it is a cod liver oil. So it is the organ oil basically. It is fermented, which is a really important part of the processing. And it is mixed with butter oil, and the vitamins in each of these help you absorb it in totality. So if you just took one without the other, your body would be less capable of absorbing it all. It is formulated the way the biological dentist Weston Price suggested. He was a turn of the century industrial era dentist who noticed that his patients were all starting to get cavities, and he had a feeling it had something to do with nutrition. He started studying indigenous cultures that had no dental care but no cavities to figure out why. Anyway, this is one of the ideas that he came up with. Okay. Greenpasture.org, promo code Allison. I used to get cavities all the time. Every 6 months, I go in and get cavities. After taking this stuff one time, I went 3 years without going to dentist. I thought for sure they would find cavities. No cavities. Amazing. All right. They've got a lot of great other stuff there, but this is what we take. Fermented cod liver oil, concentrated butter oil blend. I like the cinnamon tingle gel flavor, but they do make a capsule. All right. Going back over to the AP story. Let me just start with I'll start with the AP and the journalists, okay, and their indignance about all of this, and then get Bill can respond, and then I'll get into Trump. Save that for last. All right, number one, I already pointed out the fact that I am always fascinated when when Trump is in charge and the journalists are very upset about how they're being treated. They don't like that. For instance, that like this whole idea of opening the press briefings up to quote new media or podcasters or whatever, that they seem to not like that. They think this is an attack on the press. That they're not saying the right name, and so Trump is coming after them, and so they're like, the government telling us what we should and shouldn't say. That is just such a violation of the First Amendment. Okay, I have lived through some of the worst years and experienced some of the worst years for the First Amendment as related to the government, and it got cricket pin drop silence from journalists. And so I just don't want to hear it. I mean, honestly, I I just don't want to hear it. Because, look, in one on one hand, I will say, like, I think it's a bad look for the Trump administration. I really do. I
Mhm.
think it's a bad look if that's in fact what's happening, though. Again, I don't totally see that here. I mean, they are making an assumption, and maybe they're right. If they are in fact right, and it's retaliation because they won't say what Trump says, yeah, I mean, I would say if the shoe were on the other foot and the Biden administration was like, hey, you have to say this about the mask mandate, or you have to say that about the COVID vaccine, which they did say,
Just ivermectin.
right? Which they did say the tech companies, so we all got ripped offline. I would say, yeah, we would have all been like, no way. You get, that's telling a press outlet or anybody like what they should have saying and punishing them. And maybe it's not a violation of the law or the Constitution. Like I would agree that probably what the White House is saying, hey, look, it's a privilege to access. Not everybody gets to go in. Like, we pick
Mhm.
you. Okay, that's probably true. And I don't know if they're really violating the First Amendment by saying you can't come to, you didn't get selected anyway to go into this. But I still think it's a bad look. If that's in fact what they're doing, I don't think presidents should do that. I think one thing that people who like Trump should be very wary of is when your guy centralizes government and increases its power for something you like, be very careful, because that will be used against you, perhaps even under this administration, but definitely under the next that you don't like. I personally do not want to see a president do something that I might agree with in the name of increasing government control, because I don't want the government to have more control over my life in the future. Even if I like this specific thing you're doing, I don't support executive branches that just, they're just, oh, this executive order, that executive order, the executive orders, they're flying off the desk. Because I didn't like it when the last guy did it, and just use the executive power to increase centralized big government. And I think Trump does it in his own ways, just like previous presidents have done. And I think this is a bad look. Okay, that's my preliminary summary. Bill, any responses to that so far?
I'm right there on board with everything you just said. I really
Okay.
am. So
Okay. All right, so let's go over to locals real fast, because just in case you were wondering, this is a supporter only show in its entirety. So join the editorial board on locals, AllisonMar.locals.com. You get $5 a month to put in all your questions and comments ahead of time for interviews. Go one-on-one with some of the most censored people on the internet, some of the most interesting people on the internet. I think it's a great value, okay? And it supports the show. DMSR, exactly. Right foot sets up the left foot and vice versa. And G. Franklin, I'm with Bill on this one.
what? Somebody agreed with me?
Yeah.
What? This somebody called Trump. This is a holiday.
Yeah. All right. If you want Bill to talk more freely about something, then you got to give him some AllisonWinePromo.com. Okay.
Oh, then I'll tell you all about yourself.
He'll forget about how he's not allowed to talk about it, and he'll spill the beans. AllisonWinePromo.com. It's where you get your 6 bottles of highly limited remote vineyard grape grown wines. Okay. Remote, that probably didn't make sense. Grapes grown in remote vineyards at very high altitude, some between 6,000 and 9,000 feet. Very, very few pesticides used in the area, because there's not really a whole lot going on in some of these places. The families that have been making these wines are still using old world winemaking techniques. Some have been in business for really a couple hundred years, running like 5th, 6th generation winemaking, and natural fermentation processes, no added like fillers and dyes and just the nasty stuff that they put in grocery store wine and like the commercial wines that are out there. it's all selected for the kind of products that I like, which is just like very clean stuff and stuff that comes with a story. Wine that comes really with the story of just these families that have been in the business for a long time, really put a lot of just heart and effort into it. It's not rapid, fast production. It's very slow, curated, and unique, very unique. You can't get this stuff anywhere else. Why would you want to? AllisonWinePromo.com. Hope to see you over there. Okay, and don't forget, you can send me real mail, P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Thank you to Bill for being here. Thanks to everybody who's on the editorial board. Please let me know what you think in the comments section, and we will see you next time. Oh, but if you want to be mean in the comment section, you can even do that. If you are one of those clicky journalists, please, I don't want to tell you you can't respond that way. You can. I will just assume that you are very cranky. Okay? All right. We love you guys.